Nigeria inflation numbers has remained on the upward trajectory, hitting about 18-month high of 27.33% in the month of October. We're discussing that today. If you look at the food inflation there on your screen, it has been on the move since January till October. It's hitting about 31.52%. Talking about food inflation in Nigeria. Joining me in the studio is an economist, Dr. Gbolade Idakolo. Glad to have you again on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's look at the inflation numbers. Food inflation is almost as tall as Cocoa House in Ibadan.
Yes. Food inflation is one of the main segment and causative factors in general inflation in Nigeria. And it's not far-fetched with what is happening currently with the currency depreciation and the food insecurity in the country, security challenges, and some natural causes that has made it difficult for some variety of food crops to grow as it should. And looking at natural disasters of flood and other issues that has also caused food inflation to skyrocket. It has been a major concern for the government, and I believe that was what informed the administration's aggressive agricultural policy to see how Nigeria can come out of it. If you look at the year-on-year rate of food prices in Nigeria, you'll see that this year is the highest, and it's cause for concern. So it's something that the government needs to critically look into to be able to stem the problem on ground.
What is the place of government policies in all of this?
The government policies is to push the activities of the down market to be able to actually effect what needs to be done. Our government has rolled out several policies that needs to be implemented. The area of granting loans to farmers, providing arable land for people to be able to use for farming and the rest. And if these things are not properly implemented, it will not turn to reality, and it will not affect or impact positively on the agricultural value chain.
All right, let's look at this. And the NBS is blaming the removal of fuel subsidy as part of the reason why inflation numbers is on the increase. But before the subsidy was removed, inflation had always been on the upward trajectory.
Yes, you will even see that in the past 15 months, this October inflation is the one that the margin is a bit lower. It shows that something positive started happening. We cannot rule out the fact that fuel subsidy had a major cause to inflation to skyrocket, because you see that immediately the fuel subsidy policy was announced, inflation increased drastically. We know that it has been a continuous increase based on the failed policies of the central bank in the past that has not really looked at the causative factors that are making inflation to continue to increase. So the fuel subsidy was a catalyst that increased inflation drastically, but coupled with naira depreciation. But of recent, the CBN's policy on trying to strengthen the naira and trying as much as possible to make sure that there are alternatives to petrol is trying to see how these things can reduce a bit.
Talking about alternative to petrol, there has been talk about CNG, some are talking about electric vehicles and all of that. But the thing is that some of these things doesn't come really cheap. They are quite expensive.
Yes.
So even to convert your vehicle to CNG, according to the price that we have, is about 600,000 naira. How many Nigerians can actually afford to do that, given the current economic realities?
Actually, I believe that to initiate this kind of policy, the government needs to be in the front burner. And the government needs to start by ensuring that they provide CNG buses first to the benefit of the populace. Now, Nigerians converting on their own will now be a matter of choice and affordability. So the government should not take the cart before the horse. The government should ensure that plans are in place, that these CNG conversion plants are everywhere in the country. CNG buses are either coupled or manufactured in Nigeria so that they can transport the people all around the country and create an enabling environment for those that want to convert privately. We also heard that there will be tax holidays for those importing components for these conversions. But all these things, as you look at it, if the government does not take the bold step and we start seeing the CNG buses coming out, being channeled by the government, people will not be encouraged to go into it.
All right, let's stay with inflation. KPMG has projected that by December the inflation numbers may hit over 30%. So many other projections, the FDC, Financial Derivative Company, also came out with their own projection as well. Are you, as an individual, given what the CBN is doing so far, do you think this doomsday projection will come to reality?
It's not impossible. Actually, looking at what is happening presently, even the CBN governor said that they are not magicians, that they will only try their best. But looking at the market variables, inflation is not going to subside in the nearest future. So if other proactive measures are taken towards, because when you look at the programs of the government, it's not something that will immediately impact to stem inflation to an extent that it will not get to the 30% mark, but it will slide or slow down the movement of inflation to an extent that it will not be outrageous. That is getting even above 30-something. So that is why the predictions of this of 30% is not far-fetched. Looking at presently, we are 27% in October, and based on the CBN policies, the naira has not strengthened to the extent that it will possibly affect and reduce inflation.
Indeed. If you look at inflation numbers in Nigeria, because I was reading something about Ghana yesterday, and I saw a report that said the inflation numbers in Ghana are slow to an all-time low of 35%. That is an all-time low for Ghana. But in Nigeria, we're still below 30%, and we're complaining.
Actually, we cannot compare Ghanaian economy with Nigeria's economy. Nigeria's economy is very robust. Looking at a country that has the highest GDP in Africa, looking at a country that has fast resources, and a country that can actually and easily attract investors. These figures are not good enough for us to attract investors if it continues to climb. That is why it calls for concern. The Ghanaian economy has been struggling, and in fact, that 35% is the lowest. At a point, it got to 53%. So we cannot compare our economy with Ghana, and we cannot be happy that it's lower than that of Ghana. If it's lower than that of other competitors in our
maybe like South Africa
and Egypt, then we should be happy.
Indeed, we should be happy. But let's look at what the former CBN governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, was trying to do to control inflation. At almost every MPC meeting, there was an increase of MPR and all of that. That's, I think, continued until he left office. Do you think the new Mr. Cardoso should apply the same principle?
Actually, when the drum beat changes, the dance steps should also change. And we also discovered that you cannot continue to do a particular thing the same way and expect a different result. All the measures of the continuous increase in MPRA did not amount to stemming inflation.
Certainly.
And it did not help the naira. So I do not believe that the new CBN governor should follow suit. He should look at other ingenious ways and means of ensuring that inflation is brought under control.
But the decisions as it were at the time were being supported by IMF and World Bank.
Because it benefits their projections for the country, but it did not benefit Nigeria at all. And we discovered that those decisions actually were what brought Nigeria to this level.
All right. Now, what do you think Mr. Cardoso should do now? I know he is doing quite a whole lot now. He's not, so far the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting was deferred because probably he had some things to do, of course, for him to settle down as well. And so what do you think he should do now? I'm sure he's doing quite a lot behind the scene that we are not seeing, but what do you think he should do? Of course, the fiscal authority should not be left out of this as well.
Actually, you see, part of the failings of the past administration in the CBN was losing focus on what they are supposed to do as regards monetary policy. So I believe the new CBN management, headed by Mr. Cardoso, should face squarely monetary policies, leave other issues that actually does not immediately concern the CBN, so as to be able to attack this problem in a frontal manner. Also, the CBN should also look at ways and means to ensure that the naira stabilizes, because the stability of the naira is key to addressing other factors that is affecting inflation in the country. Also, looking at where we are presently, the CBN, being the monetary policy operator of the government, should liaise with the fiscal authorities to ensure that the government plans as regards jobstarting the economy is put on the front burner and is effectively implemented. Because if the economy is moving in a keen way, in a way that it affects other sectors based on government policies, it will ease the pressure on the central bank as well. So the central bank should be a willing partner with the fiscal authorities headed by the Ministry of Finance and the rest to ensure that there is a collaboration between the two of them. You know, in the past administration, you discover the CBN bringing out a policy that even the Minister of Finance is not aware of. So this should not happen this time around. There should be synergy between them to be a combined effort and well coordinated, so that the two of them will be able to carry out policies that will effectively lift Nigeria's economy.
But how long do you think Nigerians should wait for this policy to have impact on their lives?
In fact, the president himself told us that it's going to take time. So if the president, that is the key implementer of this program, is telling us it's going to take time, then we should be willing to wait.
How much of patience can Nigeria have?
Nigerians have been patient so far, so a little more patience will not kill us. But the way I'm looking at it, the problem that Nigeria has cannot be solved in 4 years.
Certainly.
Economically, but we can create a new path.
But the hope should be given to the people.
We can create a new path and ensure that we are seen on the path of growth. Presently, we are not there yet. But if these policies that the government wants to implement is properly implemented, then we will be on a growth trajectory. We might not get there in 4 or 8 years, but at least Nigeria will be seen to be getting closer to the promised land.
But why is it difficult for us to actually build, let's say, a foundation that can be built upon, that can be built upon? Like, for example, in Lagos, the current president built a foundation.
Yes.
That he left it. When he left, there was another governor, and then after that, there's been progression. But why can't we have that at the national level?
It's a major problem which I feel can be solved now. You know, in the previous administration, they met an opposition. It was an opposition government that was there. And in politics, you do not glorify the activities of your opponents. So that is why most of the time when an opposition comes in, it tries to jettison the project, whether laudable or not, of the previous administration.
But that's not in the interest of the country.
And it's not always in the interest of the country. So the way I see it presently, I believe that this new administration, they are from the same party, and they should critically review the programs.
But they're always complaining about the programs of the previous government.
Yes,
I read a statement from the office of the NSA yesterday.
Yes.
He said that they met empty treasury.
Empty treasury is relative, because it is expected that we'll meet empty treasury when we are talking about a situation where the country is servicing its debt with over 100% of its revenue. So why won't there be empty treasury? Definitely there will be. But the new government should be ingenious enough to ensure that the pitfalls of the past administration is not repeated in this new administration. And the good ones that they have done should be critically reviewed to improve on it. That's the way government can be.
All right. And Economist Gbolade Idakolo, I must thank you for your time on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. With that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.